What is going on, guys? I'm back with another video on the No Name podcast. Um, as of right now, still the only name I've got. I don't want to rush into a name. I want something that comes to me naturally, and it just feels good when I say it. So as of right now, still the No Name podcast. But today, a lot of big things happened through week two. A lot of good games, a lot of upsetting games, disappointing performances. And I just wanted to break them down this week. Really dig deep into the most important games because obviously I can't go through all of them because of the fact that it's a lot of football that would take a very long time. And I'm trying to make these videos shorter, and just really get in depth on the most important things that I saw from my eyes, from all the football that I've seen, and all the aftermath of from week two. So first thing I want to start with, obviously the one of the biggest games talked about was the New York Jets, versus the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Jets fans, what were we expecting? I mean, we knew Zach Wilson, how how statistically terrible he's been in his career as a starting quarterback in the NFL. But I mean, this just goes to show that the Jets really do have a problem at their quarterback position, and it's frustrating to see because you see all these good players and all these good pieces. You know, obviously last year their defense was still elite. Obviously that's why they ended up winning 6, 7 games. With Sauce Gardner, Quinn Williams, um, bringing in Sala to really help a couple years ago to really build a good team. And obviously we seen what he did in San Francisco. Defense for him means a lot, and so you've seen that with the picks that he's made and the players he's brought in, and how quickly that defense came together since he got there. Um, so obviously we know that defense does not need any praise. We know just how elite that defense is, but I mean it's a tough game for the Jets and for Jets fans to be watching because early in the game you're competitive. You guys are basically going toe to toe. I believe it was 14, 17-10 at one point, right close right before half. And Garrett Wilson just broke off that 70-yard touchdown, which really brought them closer into the game. And as soon as I saw that Garrett Wilson touchdown, I had hope. I had hope that Zach Wilson was going to be able to do enough to because this is before he had turned the ball over at all. I had hope that they were going to have a chance to make some plays. I thought Garrett Wilson was going to continue to get the ball, and he didn't even touch the ball for the rest of the game, which is unfortunate for an elite talent like Garrett Wilson. For him not to be getting the ball enough, it's just not something you want to see. And another person who's unhappy with this performance, this his team's performance, his individual performance, is Breece Hall. Breece Hall, if you guys didn't know, only got 4 touches, and he expressed his emotions and how he felt in the press conference. He said, I only touched the ball 4 times. That's why we weren't competitive. That's why our offense wasn't going. And I agree. I definitely agree in the fact that Breece Hall is one of those talents. We know how good he is, and we've seen those flashes week one coming back from injury against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, torched them for 10 carries, 130 yards. And this is not something you want to not something you want to see as a Jets fan. I mean, he's definitely an elite running back in year two. I understand he's coming off injury. I understand this Dallas defense is elite. This Dallas front is elite. We've seen what they did to the New York Jets. I mean, to the New York Giants. We've seen how absolutely, you know, demonic is probably the best way to put it. They looked against the New York Giants, but there is no excuse for someone as elite as Breece Hall to only be getting 4 touches in a football game. Especially because the fact that Zach Wilson, pulling up the stats, Zach Wilson, 12 for 27, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. I mean, if you have the ability to throw the ball 27 times with Zach Wilson, um, I, and to get those results, 3 INTs. Obviously, you would have liked to see them settle him down, make it easier for Zach Wilson, get the ball to Breece Hall, start loosening up that secondary, start making them have to come down, play the run a bit more. Because really, this whole game, I felt like they just didn't respect Zach Wilson. They weren't afraid of Zach Wilson. And obviously, it showed. I mean, they were just playing their type of ball out there. Trayvon Diggs ended up getting himself one. Micah Parsons was doing Micah Parson like things. You've heard him on I at least heard him on a most recent podcast over this offseason where he said, it's only year 2 for him, but he's already tired of it's year 3 for Michael Parsons, and he's already tired of watching Super Bowls. He's already tired of watching the Super Bowls in January, and he wants to get into those type of games. He wants to make a deep playoff run. He wants to make Super Bowl Sundays and be a part of that atmosphere and the biggest stage possible on national television and have all those millions of fans watching you. Okay, so we know what Michael Parsons is. We know what he did. His presence was felt throughout this entire game. Dak Prescott had a good performance. I wouldn't good just because of the sense. I mean, couple touchdowns, no INTs. I believe 27 completions. Something you like to see. But at the same time, this Dallas Cowboys offense, they did struggle in the red zone. 2 for 6 in the red zone, which is not something you would like to see from a team like this. Having 6 chances at the red zone, only coming down with 2 touchdowns. It's just not good. When you get your chances in there, you got to score. Dak Prescott, I felt like he was really checking the ball down a lot. Not really taking any shots. And could this be him? From all the media talk and all the offseason talk, and Mike McCarthy telling him just to not be as aggressive. Is this Dak Prescott? Settling down and realizing that he's not going to be that type of quarterback anymore. I'm not sure, but from what I've seen, Dak Prescott definitely looked, a little. Didn't really look like he wanted to take any shots. Didn't really feel like he wanted to be aggressive. And whether it's Mike McCarthy telling him this in his ear, telling him, "Yo, we got to start, keeping the ball underneath. Just throw completions, let your receivers make plays," because that's definitely how this offense is built. CeeDee Lamb, a great yards after the catch type of receiver, and he put that out on dispute this weekend. 11 receptions, 143 yards. Just a dominating game, and for Dallas the entire game. And it was just after the second half, once the second half started, came out, Zach Wilson started just throwing up prayers, and man, he's getting a lot of hate on Twitter. He's getting a lot of hate on ESPN and everyone. He's the quarterback 32 in the NFL right now. He is number 32. He is at the bottom of that quarterback tier list, and it's just something that you hate to see, especially being in New York. The lights are brighter. Everyone's gonna see it. All the fans are gonna see it. He's gonna hear it from everybody. And now, obviously, if it wasn't already said enough, week 1, trade talks are flying. Trade rumors are flying. If you're the New York Jets, you got to assume that you're calling somebody, you're calling teams, trying to find somebody, trying to see, maybe see if you can play it out a couple more weeks, get a couple wins from that defense, and allow Zach Wilson just to do enough to, keep you alive for a couple more weeks. But, at this point, as a New York Jets fan, you've got to be something. You got to do something. Something's got to be done. A decision's got to be made. We all know Zach Wilson is not the answer. Through 2 weeks, through his whole NFL career, we've seen nothing but just disappointing performances. And to see a defense that elite and that New York Jets team that stacked, it's just something you don't like to see. Overall, Dallas Cowboys just had their number. I'm praying for the New York. A lot of Cowboys fans are talking now. I'm praying that the New York Jets figure it out, because I'm a big fan of Sauce Gardner, especially, and watched a lot of his stuff at Cincinnati, and so those are some of the players and some of the guys. Breece Hall, big fan as well. Some of those guys I like to see succeed. So I really do hope they figure out this QB situation. How they're gonna do that, I'm not sure. Paying Aaron Rodgers all this money, obviously there's very little wiggle room to really do something for a top 10, top 15 quarterback. That's kind of out the picture. There's a lot of people talking about a Colt McCoy pickup, or Josh Dobbs, who you've seen him perform against the New York Giants. But yeah, there's definitely decisions to be made for this organization. Robert Saleh's got definitely some things to think about, and Nathaniel Hackett, man, he just didn't look good for him and Zach Wilson on Sunday. and this New York Jets team definitely got a lot to figure out. So now we get to the situation. I know everybody, for the most part, that knows me, that knows when I post these videos. The first vid I ever posted about was about my Las Vegas Raiders. So, I'm going to go into depth how I feel about that game. Overall, obviously, I don't need to really say much. I did predict that we wouldn't beat the Bills in my, Raiders prediction on the schedule. I did say we were going to take a loss to Buffalo for the exact reasons on what happened on Sunday. But overall, this performance was very, very, unfortunate and very disappointing. As a Raider fan, I'm gonna be the most optimistic dude I can. I'm gonna be the hype man. I'm gonna be the hottest in the room. I'm always gonna be saying, "Yo, my Raiders can really do something special this year. Do something," and I do still think we could still pull off 10 wins. Okay, that's not here retracting my statement, retracting my first video I ever posted. Okay, but a couple issues wrong. Listen, when you have someone as elite as Josh Jacobs, 2 games in, about 20-something carries for only 20-something yards, it's just very disappointing to see. I mean, we only lost one offensive lineman during this offseason. Colton Miller's still there. We got a couple young rooks that were supposed to, make some noise, that made some noise in training camp to possibly take a chance to play in this starting lineup. But genuinely, I know, Jimmy G out there, 16 for 24, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. And then, the Buffalo Bills, 400 total yards, 450 total yards of offense. Josh Allen, 31 for 37, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. James Cook, 125 yards on the ground. Okay, Stephon Diggs, his presence was felt. Gabriel Davis, his presence was felt. About 90-something yards and a touchdown. But this game had a very specific sour taste in my mouth. And one, like I said, Josh Jacobs running the ball for negative 1 yard, negative 3 yards on the game is just unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. And I think a lot of it has to do with really our spacing as an offense. I feel like when we try to run the ball with Josh Jacobs, we're bringing in a tight end, we're bringing in an extra tight end, we'll run that 2 tight end set, we'll bring in a fullback. So, we really are starting to bring everybody into the box because they got to play these tight ends. They got to account for the fullback. And then once you basically are telling this defense that you're going to run the ball with Josh Jacobs, they know what to expect, they know what's coming. It's too predictable at times. And when you go against a good defense, because Buffalo Bills were a top, 7 team in rush defense last year. When you go against a team like that, a great rush defense, I really think you have to spread them out. Throw an extra couple receivers out there. Go 2 receivers, 3 receivers. Make this secondary have to, play the receivers and respect the pass game. And for those of you who didn't watch the first drive, we're going out. Jimmy G's dipping and dunking. Josh Jacobs catching passes out the backfield. I believe he only touched the ball twice on the first drive, Josh Jacobs. We really were going through passes, but we were throwing everything, these short routes. Devontae Adams scored on a screen route, threw a little screen, had our slot guy come block for him, then he did the rest, And that whole drive, we were dipping and dunking and letting our receivers make plays. We were getting Trey Tucker, 4th round pick out of Cincinnati. He went out there for 34-yard rush, threw him a little jet sweep, which is something I like to see, something you need to do more of to just, soften up this defense for Josh Jacobs to run the ball, okay? Because everybody knows who we want to go to. Everybody knows who we want to give the ball to, who's our guy, and, we found a way to get Devontae Adams the ball in open field. And we just got to start making Josh Jacobs' job a lot easier. Our O-line was not really holding up. It has not looked good for our rush offense these past 2 weeks. And like I said, after that first drive, we went away from everything that we did good on that first drive. We stopped throwing, these short, medium routes to let our receivers make plays. We stopped throwing little screens, wide receiver screens to keep the DBs honest. And that's one of the biggest things you've got to do. If they go out there and we're the entire game, we're throwing, Jimmy G's throwing for 300 yards, 275 yards, all off little screens and, little slant routes, little 5-yard hitches and all this stuff. If we are getting all this underneath route and they're giving it to us, and we win a game like that, I'm all for it. Josh Jacobs, he's already made it stated. He wants to perform. Yes, he wants to be great, but he wants to win. Most importantly, he wants to win. And if we're not going to win and he's also not performing, how do you think how do you think he's going to feel? Josh McDaniels, you went away from what was working in the first quarter, and it was just from the first drive, and it was just terrible to see. And obviously, we were one step ahead of that team for a minute up until Jimmy G throw that screen, try to throw an INT to that screen pass to Josh Jacobs. This is one of those plays you like to see Jimmy G eat it and throw the ball away. And I know Jimmy G was having a lot of problems holding on to the ball, not throwing the ball quick enough, but that's not how Jimmy G wants to play. We don't want to make Jimmy G have to go out there and be the aggressor and throw this ball downfield. We don't want to have to make Jimmy G go out there and pick a defense apart, 20 times and throw the ball 20 times in the second half. He's not comfortable playing like that, and that's just fine. But we have to find ways to make it easier for not only Jimmy G, but Josh Jacobs to run this ball. And someone like Hunter Renfrow, who was notorious for being a third down threat, notorious for being a Julian Edelman type receiver, someone who you could throw a whip route to, someone who could beat someone on a slant, someone in third down, he's going to get to the sticks and you could trust him to go make a play, or someone you could throw a ball up the seam and he's going to come down with it. He was an 1,000-yard receiver. He had over, I believe, 100 catches before we had Devontae Adams. When we just lost Henry Ruggs, Darren Waller wasn't playing. I mean, this man went from getting double-teamed in the red zone to not touching the ball the whole first game, which is just completely an understatement. And maybe, I'm not there. I'm not watching this training camp. I don't know if Hunter Renfrow's out there and he's just playing terrible. He's not getting as much separation as he used to. Okay, but from what I know and from what I've seen throughout his entire career, last year he got injured. And it sucks that it happened to him, but he did. Okay, we missed him a lot last year, especially on third downs. Okay, but that is one of those receivers, especially with no Jacoby Myers. I mean, that's one of those receivers you have to get the ball to. He is just a very reliable player. You can throw him the ball in a lot of situations. You've seen him successfully score touchdowns running outside routes on the outside, running big boy routes on the outside. Okay, you've seen him do it on the goal line. That's where I believe he's his biggest threat. Like I said, third downs, goal line situations, in the red zone. He's one of those guys that's going to get you an opportunity to be open, to make plays, and he's going to be open for you, and he's going to get to the right spot. Okay, and it just sucks to see something like that because Hunter Renfrow's one of my favorite Raiders. We paid him. I was the most ecstatic guy possible. I was happy. I was running around, yeah, we signed Hunter Renfrow, all this money. Yeah, he's going to be here for another 4 years. But just seeing how uninvolved he is, and him sometimes, like him not even getting on the field, is just concerning. Like I said, if he's out there the whole training camp, whole off season, and during practice, he's out there getting locked up and not performing, I understand. Okay, but from what I've heard, from what I've seen, and and the interviews I've listened to, and the head coach Taco, it's just there's no reason why Hunter Renfrow should not be getting involved like this. Okay, so yes, Buffalo Bill fans, NFL fans, Cowboy fans, Niner fans, whatever fan you are, everybody that texted my phone this Sunday or yesterday or today, I know, I hear you. I hear you. I'm just as embarrassed as any of those Raider players are, okay? It hurts my soul to see a team play like that. It was one of those games where I didn't even want to finish the game. Obviously, I did. I sit through all my losses, so that way you cherish the wins when you get them, and those big time wins, and hopefully eventually get to see a Super Bowl, in today's football. But yeah, this is just not something you'd like to see. We definitely have a huge bounce back game against the Steelers this coming Sunday. I'm hoping for big things. Their offense is struggling. We looked okay through week 1. So I'm not too worried about, us having another, it's not like we've been bad for 2 weeks. Okay, Jimmy G was getting a lot of praise after week 1. So yeah, I'm hoping for big things for my Las Vegas Raiders this week, excuse me. And yeah, man, let me just keep pushing forward, keep trying to get better, help Jimmy G, make the job easier for Jimmy G, make the job easier for Josh Jacobs. And then the last thing I had to talk about, last thing on the Raiders, because I know y'all don't want to hear about a team that just got smacked on by 38. Okay, but our defense corner, Patrick Graham, as a serious issue to solve. Okay, because throughout that whole game, Josh Allen's out there untouched, having all the time in the world. No pressure's coming. Max Crosby's getting double teamed. Max Crosby's getting chipped. And Tyree Wilson, our number one overall pick, I know he came in late. I know he's coming off injury. I know he's coming off ankle injury. So you can't really sit here and tell him, yo, we expect you to be. But some of these guys got to step up, man. Max Crosby is doing everything he can, and he's getting doubled and chipped every single play. Somebody else has to step up. There has to be somebody else willing to make a play, somebody that's going to make a play, not having Chandler Jones for that little hiatus that's going on over there. I mean, it's just not fun for Max Crosby, but I hate to see it to someone like Max that gives so much energy and passion and works so hard to be great, So it's tough to see, but that's why there's 17 weeks and 18 weeks in the season. Okay, we're going to improve. We're going to get better. Josh McDaniels, I hope you hear this. Probably won't, but maybe you should. Maybe you should. Enough Raiders talk. All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield, who wasn't even supposed to win the starting job in camp. There was rumors that he wasn't going to win the starting job in camp. Okay, to see him coming out here and just absolutely performing week in and week out. I mean, it's a 2-week sample. Yes, we know what Baker Mayfield is. Am I surprised that Baker Mayfield's 2-0 right now, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2-0? Yes, of course. Yes, Baker Mayfield went out there and went for 317 yards against the Chicago Bears. Yes, that's fine. Okay, but Baker Mayfield is absolutely. He looked week 1. I wasn't sure. They played Minnesota. Okay, Minnesota had those 4 turnovers, and they barely squeaked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, but they ended up still winning. That Tampa Bay defense came to play. I mean, you cannot hate on defense coming to play like that, especially as underdogs to come into Minnesota, get that win. Baker Mayfield played just good enough, didn't turn the ball over, was completing passes, and that's something great to see. But I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not watch Baker Mayfield play against the Chicago Bears this last week, you better go click it on. You better go watch it, because that was something special. Let me tell you. You can say that. You can say whatever you want about Chicago Bears, okay? Their team's not as good. The defensively, they're not as good as, as last couple years. But they got some solid pieces. You know what I'm saying? Eddie Jackson, they've got some solid players in the secondary. Okay, they just got never mind. So I was gonna say Roquan Smith, but we don't. They traded him out of there. He's in Baltimore. So I was getting a little too, But still, either way, Baker Mayfield, 26 for 34, 317 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Mike Evans, 6 receptions, 171 yards, and 1 touchdown. I mean, this cannot. And Rachaad White went out there, 73 yards, 1 touchdown, had about 4 or 5 receptions for about 30 yards. It's just great to see. And one of the biggest things I'm happiest about is Mike Evans. I mean, Mike Evans, man, has been the definition of consistency in the NFL. He's nothing special of a route runner, but he's just a big how tall is he? 6'4", 6'4", 6'3", something like that, right? Okay, but he's a big body receiver. He plays physical. He loves to get physical with people. That's why he's had a success against great DBs in the past, such as, Marshawn Lattimore and Jair Alexander and all these other guys. He's just such a physically dominant receiver, and he plays physical, and he accepts his role. He's not one of those guys to go out there and say, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, on any given Sunday, Mike Evans can go out there and give you 100 yards a game. He can do that. He can go out there and give you 100 yards, 2 touchdowns on whoever goes out there. Okay? He is that type of receiver. Will he ever be known as a top 5, top 7 receiver in the league? Probably not. Let's be real, probably not. Even at his best years, he's never been in that type of conversation. But he's just so consistent. He's consistently making plays for you when you need him. He's consistently stepping up after a bad week or a slow week for his standards or the team's offensive standards. And, to see him go out here and go for 171 yards is just phenomenal. And him finding a relationship with Baker Mayfield, it's just great to see. I mean, Mike Evans could have easily had 200 yards and another touchdown, but he got caught on one of his runs. Okay, so he easily could have, he easily could have put a little sprinkle on this performance and made it absolutely nuts. Obviously Mike Evans is not that fast, so he didn't have the burners. Okay, he got tired. You know how it goes. He got hawked, yeah, as he has his whole career, right? But Baker Mayfield, I mean Baker Mayfield, it, you have to just watch his film against Chicago. I mean, he's out here making plays. He's going through reads. He's using his feet. He's looking downfield. I mean, he's just doing everything perfect right now. I mean, he even watched a couple clips from him where he looks like he's back in Oklahoma. He looks happy. He looks free. He looks like he's just flowing and just, his mind's so clear and he's just so, he looks like he's just having fun like he did, like he did back in Oklahoma, when he was at peak Baker Mayfield. Okay. But Baker Mayfield overall, great performance. 2-0. Who would have thought? Who would have thought the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be 2-0 right now? I promise you, I sure as hell didn't. I thought they were going to lose to my Minnesota week 1. I took the Minnesota at the spread. I did. I'm not going to lie. But man, Baker Mayfield has just been so enjoyable to watch last week. And I'm hoping big things for this team and for him in particular. I'd love to see Tampa Bay be successful. You know, just with everything they've gone through, just losing Tom Brady, that's a tough shoes to fill. And it's just great to see, somebody else step up and have some sort of success, even if it's only for week 1 or week 2. They have too many players on that team that deserve to compete, deserve to be, competing week in and week out, and deserve to be making playoff pushes. Do I think this team's gonna win a Super Bowl? No. Do I think they're gonna make playoffs, win the division? No, I don't. I can't say that for sure. But if Baker Mayfield plays like this for 10 games out of the year, we could be looking at a division winner. So, just everybody keep their eyes out. Is Baker Mayfield going to play like this for the rest of the year? We have no idea. We really don't. But it's okay. Baker Mayfield, you gave me something to watch for the first 2 weeks. You've been impressive. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, shout out. Y'all got yourself a good team. I love y'all roster from top to bottom. It's just great to watch. Good football, man. They come out here and compete every week. But obviously, we had to talk about Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. I mean, that 28-0 comeback is that was just insane. I mean, obviously, I'm not giving Daniel Jones his flowers for the performance he had because, yes, they were still, scoreless through 6 quarters, all right? They did get blown out by the Dallas Cowboys 40-0, all right? So I'm not out here gonna, glaze this team up. But, that's a big thing to happen. I'm sitting here all weekend. I'm sitting here, Saquon Barkley rushing attempts, and I'm sitting here and I'm sweating, and it was just good to see that this team show some life, show some energy. Yes, it was against the Arizona Cardinals. We're not hyping up the win that much, but there's a 28-0 comeback, 28-0 comeback. And to win in last play of the fourth quarter, I mean, it's just good to see, that they showed some fight, that they showed that, they got it going at the right time. Because, if they lose that game, everyone's coming for their heads. Giants fans are losing it. It would have been chaos for the New York Giants community. But obviously Saquon Barkley injured, sprained his ankle. It's gonna be out 3 weeks. It was what it looks like. They got a tough schedule coming ahead. They do play the Niners on Thursday Night Football coming up, and so it is going to be interesting for this New York Giants team. Do I think they're gonna go out here and Daniel Jones is gonna compete? I'm going to keep it honest. No, I don't. I think if Daniel Jones doesn't play like he did this past Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals in that second half, that last 18 minutes, 20 minutes of the game, they have no shot to even be competitive in any of these games. I think this I don't think Daniel Jones can repeat a performance like this. But again, something you'd like to see. Sure, yet again, against the Arizona Cardinals. But man, oh man, it's just good to see. When you see teams come back 28-0 or even come back in general and just show a lot of fight after a terrible day for the most part, it's just good to see. It definitely kept me interested, definitely kept me on my toes, because seeing stuff like this, seeing this team get hated on after week 1 for their performance, it's just, Daniel Jones coming in, like I said, last 20 minutes playing absolutely perfect, using his feet, making big-time throws. I mean, it was just good to see. New York Giants fans, I'm praying for y'all. And the last thing I had to talk about on today's video. This video is going to end up being around 30 something minutes ish. Trying to get a lot in. Sundays, there's a lot of games, a lot of stuff going on. But we have to talk about it. The Cincinnati Bengals. We all know about Joe Burrow's injury during training camp. He tweaked his calf, sat out most of training camp, sat out all the preseason. They just signed him to that money. You have to take care of that guy. But clearly, he re-aggravated his injury, okay, which is not something you like to see. Specifically, he re-aggravated his calf, okay, and clearly he does not look like the same Joe Burrow that we've seen in the past. I believe Joe Burrow was 1-6 in like week 1 and week 2 since he came into the league. So this is something you like to see from the Bengals, a slow start, but this just looked overall just a disaster. Joey Burrow did not look comfortable. He did not look, like he could really step into his throws. He did not seem to be using his feet more than enough from what we're used to, from what I'm used to extend plays and and things like that. And just Jamar Chase not getting the ball, not getting involved. This whole team is really just struggling right now. 0-2 start. Joe Burrow through weeks 1 and 2, 41 for 27, 304 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 54.2 completion percentage. It's just not the Joe Burrow that we're used to and accustomed to seeing. We're accustomed to seeing this guy who went goes toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs year in and year out. All right. That's the Joe Burrow we're all expecting. That's the Joe Burrow the NFL and everybody else needs to see, especially me. Listen, Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles. Okay. That's something that these Cincinnati Bengals definitely have to learn from. They have to be smart about this whole Joe Burrow situation. He re-aggravated his calf again. Okay. And, having calves problems could lead to, Achilles tears and Achilles problems, which makes this whole injury and this whole season a much longer issue. Okay, that can be leading into even next season. And if I'm a part of that, if I'm on that Cincinnati Bengals roster, if I'm on that Cincinnati Bengals team, that coaching staff, that the management, all that stuff, all right, I'm screaming in my head coach's ear. I'm telling them Joe Burrow's not going to play for the next 3 to 4 weeks, if that's what it takes. They're already saying Joe Burrow will not be playing this next week, which is, it's good for the sake of Joe Burrow's career and for that Cincinnati Bengals franchise. Having a special QB like Joe Burrow is something that the Cincinnati Bengals roster has never had. Okay, you already know that they paid this guy the big time money, $270 million contract. Okay, we know what he's worth. We know what he's about. He went to the Super Bowl. All right, and if he had a better offensive line, we're sitting here and we're not, and he could be a Super Bowl champion. All right, but he wasn't, and here we are today. Still hasn't made it back to the Super Bowl, but after an 0-2 start, if you sit Joe Burrow, you're in a very scary place. It doesn't get any easier for the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost 2 division games back to back. All right, and now you get into a situation where now you're 0-2 the division. You're bottom of the division. All right, you still got 6 more division games, and which is a tough division. Division games get brutal. They get scary. They get close. And if you're not playing at your best and you don't have your best players out there to play, it gets tough. Those games can, start to go the other way. And if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm telling Joe Burrow, telling his family, telling the team, listen, we're sitting him out until he's healthy, because there's no way to risk his career. There's no reason to risk his career and him get re-aggravated and, go out there and get a long time injury and end up being out for the next 8-9 months or whatever the case may be. Okay. We don't want to, as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I'm not a fan, but in their eyes and the coach's eyes, you can't risk jeopardizing someone in Joe Burrow's caliber of player. You can't jeopardize his career like this. So, with that being said, even if this means your season this year gets chalked and it's absolutely done. You know, the Bengals go 0-6, 0-7 when until Joe Burrow comes back. So be it. I mean, Joe Burrow is one of those talented players. Yes, you are going to be, the morale is going to be a little low because of this year. The losing Joe Burrow in that fashion for the big chunk of the season, and then going in a hole as 0-6, 1-7, or whatever the case may be. Okay, but I mean, like I said, they just signed him to a bunch of money, 5-year contract, highest paid quarterback in the league. Okay, second highest paid quarterback in the league after Mahomes got his little guaranteed money for the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I can't not express this enough. I can't express it enough. You take your time. You tell Joe Burrow to get 100% healthy. And if you lose 4 or 5 games because he's taking his sweet time to get right, get his rehab, get his recovery, get back to 100% is the best thing for this organization. Even if it means, you're not going to be competitive this year. Even if it means you're not going to be going to the playoffs this year. You're not going to go be facing Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship again. All right? You buckle up, toughen up, suck it up, and you just say, we're coming next year. Let's ride for next year. You know what I'm saying? Sign the players who need to be signed. Extend the players who need to be extended. Draft the right pieces. Keep continuing to build around Joe Burrow. Man, in another year, y'all, this team could be scary. With give them another year, you lose a couple games, get a better draft pick. I mean, there's pros and cons to this whole situation, but the biggest con is the possibility of Joe Burrow having a season-ending injury because of rushing him back too quickly. All right. And with that being said, that's going to be the last thing I'm going to be talking about today on the No Name podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm definitely going to be posting my Sunday/Monday recap. Will be longer than anything else that I ever post. From now on, my videos will be shorter, more to get into the point of good topics, that stuff I like to talk about. With that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all would like to hear. Let me know what y'all think about what I'm saying. Cowboys fans, come talk some trash. Niner fans, come talk some, come talk some stuff. Come talk some talk. That being said, hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.